Say, man, you got an intro planned?
No, I do not, man.
It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
I'm just gonna do the typical "Welcome to It's Always Sunny in Hollywood" thing, man. So it's hello and welcome to It's Always Sunny in Hollywood. I am one of your hosts, Patrick, joined with my two co-hosts. Introduce yourselves, man.
All right, all right, all right. I'm Red Drum Arts.
We. I'm
What was
Lugia.
that? What was that little? What was that little?
I said weed. Did it cut out? I think it did.
Yes, it did.
Fuck.
Well, on my end,
Yeah.
it cut it. I don't know. It's the thought that counts.
It's recording on your end, so it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
It doesn't matter, but yeah, all right, all right, all right. Before we get into the movie of the day, let's talk about some things that happened this past week. First off, Pixar announced their 2023 movie called Elemental, and let me just pull up. There was an
Elemental
article
deal
that
what's
It basically looks like you guys remember the cool math games, Fire Boy and Water Girl? It's
Yeah.
basically that, except like gender swapped,
I
where it's
do
Fire
not
Girl
remember
and
that
Water
game.
Boy.
Dude, really?
Okay, the brief plot synopsis that Disney revealed is that Elemental journeys alongside an unlikely pair, Ember and Wade, in a city where fire, water, land, and air residents live together. The fiery young woman and the go with the flow guy are about to discover something elemental. How much
Okay,
they actually have in common.
I'm gonna be 100% honest.
Mhm.
This sounds like a parody of a Pixar movie. Like I feel like this is like I don't know. This feels like a joke, like that.
Really?
Another cartoon. Because I don't know. Because like when the stereotype of Pixar movies is just like, oh, take some random thing, give it feelings, and it's always like some buddy duo where they're journeying. Like when I saw the initial like concept art, I was like, it's just Inside Out again. And then when I read a little bit about it, I was like, with maybe like a dash of Monsters Inc. or I don't know, Zootopia.
I
I mean, I know
yeah, I
Zootopia is
thought I thought
Disney,
of
but
I
like,
thought of Zootopia.
yeah, I know like Zootopia is Disney, but like they share a lot of staff now.
I'm
So
thinking of Avatar, given the whole elemental
Yeah,
spiel,
I
but
thought of Avatar meets
one,
Zootopia.
I've
You
never
know,
seen the show, and two, I'm not really a fan anyway. If my only exposure is fucking the Shyamalan film.
okay, I need to make you guys watch the show one of these days. But yeah, okay.
anyway,
It'll probably be fine.
yeah,
I've been liking Pixar's like last three movies. I thought those were all pretty good, so I have a little bit of faith, but I don't know. Doesn't really
I don't know. I look at the
seem very
concept.
interesting.
I look at the concept art, and the water guy looks like Osmosis Jones to me.
Yeah, no, I noticed that too.
You want osmosis? You got osmosis.
Listen,
No,
I already
but
I already have my Water Boy and Fire Girl movie, and it's called The Adventures of Shark Boy and Lava Girl
ah
in
yes,
3D.
yes, in 3D. But Elemental coming
And
summer 2023.
yeah, and other upcoming movie news. The first teaser for the Predator prequel, Prey, has been released. I think it's interesting because so here, Lugia, why don't you explain what like the first Predator movie was?
It's been a little bit since I last saw it.
The general gist is like
A
basically
man
these
goes out into the jungle and finds the predator and kills him.
I mean kinda, it was more of like
There was
a
more
bunch
than that.
yeah, basically it was like a bunch of these military commandos going to the jungle, and then the Predator starts killing them and basically becomes like a one-man war. It's like Rambo, but from the perspective of the cops. And it looks like this Prey sequel is doing a first for Predator, because all the other Predator movies just kind of followed similar suit. Like Predator 2 is basically like the same thing, except the Predator was in a city. Um, and then the other two were literally just the jungle thing again. This one also is a jungle, but the twist here is that it's taking place in the past,
So is it like
like
Terminator Predator?
it's like I don't know, it's like some caveman shit. I don't know. Like you saw these people.
Oh, like
Like
literally prehistoric times?
I don't know. Like they've got like
To what,
Oh,
cavemen?
Flintstones Predator.
yeah, like I don't know. I guess like maybe Native American. They have like it's just
Pocahontas
like
Predator?
it's like people that actually like lived in the jungle and shit. So like I don't know, maybe a bit. like they don't have guns, but they've also actually lived in the jungle and stuff. So I don't know. I feel like that might be like an interesting twist on stuff because they got like, you know, like spears and shit as their weapons, but they also more familiar with the territory. So it could be an interesting twist. I liked the first two Predator movies, and the rest of the series have been kind of bad, but you know, could always turn it around.
That's why they did
Uh,
Alien versus Predator.
I have not seen those. I heard the first one's actually all right.
I've seen the first one. Yeah, it was okay.
Yeah, I heard the
I
second one's like
haven't
really
seen
bad though.
any Predator movie. When I think of Predator, I think of that one episode of How I Met Your Mother. You know what I'm talking about?
See, I've seen that show, but I have no idea what you're talking about. Can you just
There's
explain
an
it to me?
episode. There's an episode where Marshall and Lily they explain that it's a tradition of theirs to watch Predator every Valentine's Day
Oh,
because
okay.
they were watching a romantic comedy and somebody taped Predator over it. So they're like, "Yeah, okay, let's watch this." I don't know.
Uh,
That's what I think of when I think of Predator.
I always feel like the Predator movies need to be a twist on something because like my first Predator was basically like it basically took the classic commando action movie and made it into a slasher. And then Predator 2 basically took like this like cop movie like you know trying to take down drug dealers and stuff, and then they just tossed in the Predator there all of a sudden. They're like it's like a murder mystery movie almost where it's like, man, what the fuck happened to all these criminals? So I don't know. This one seems like an interesting twist where I mean it's titled Prey, so I'm assuming that the Predator is actually going to be more on the defensive this time. So yeah.
Makes sense, you know.
Anyway,
Predator, prey.
yeah. Anyway, more whatchamacallit movie news. Judd Apatow, you know the guy who made Knocked Up and all those like Seth Rogen 2000s comedies and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He is now rather making he's now making a new gay rom-com. And I find this one interesting because basically everyone except Judd Apatow that's involved is gay. The entire cast is gay, including the characters that are straight. It's written by gay people.
Oh,
I think it's even directed by a gay man. Judd Apatow is just producing it, but like you know,
do we have a
they're
title
tapping his
or a
name on the
synopsis?
let me check. I know Billy Eichner, if you're familiar with him, I think he wrote the movie. You know, he has that show like Billy on the Street. I think he played Timon in the whatchamacallit
Oh,
Lion
oh
King
yeah,
reboot.
yes. Okay, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
the movie's called Bros. It's coming out on my birthday. Wow, cool. September 30th, 2022. And yeah, it's directed by Nicholas Stoller and it's written by Billy Eichner and also Nicholas Stoller.
Do we have a plot synopsis?
Basically, it was meant to be like a gay like a typical rom-com, but like Billy Eichner is basically saying that you know the whole queer spaces are completely different from straight spaces. He felt like most gay rom-coms were not actually written from like a point of view of a person that's actually gay. He said that it just felt like they just took straight rom-coms and just made them both dudes or both women,
Ah,
and he was like,
all
"Nah,
right.
it's very different." So he basically just wanted to make a traditional rom-com, but like actually true to the
So a
gay
gay
experience.
rom-com written by gay people, starring gay people.
Yeah,
So like a completely authentic gay rom-com.
yeah. Because I've heard like many criticisms for like other gay rom-coms. I heard like Call Me by Your Name's actually pretty good, but like that's the only one I've heard like. Anyway, I guess I'll just go through all the announcements for new things. So, Scooby Doo. Everyone here is like Scooby Doo, right?
Mm-hmm.
It'd be
At a
strange if you
point,
haven't seen Scooby Doo. Well, it's been around since like the late '60s, probably.
Since 1969, I believe.
Yeah. So multiple generations grew up on this shit. So anyway, they're making a Velma adult animated series. Now, I'm not sure how tied into Scooby Doo it is. I remember hearing that initially the show was meant to be its own like standalone thing, but they attached the Scooby Doo name just to get it picked up. But based on the images you've seen, it seems like it's trying to go for like a dark, edgy, like adult comedy, like parody of Scooby Doo. It kind of, they still kind of remind me of Venture Bros. If you've seen Venture Bros, I think it might be interesting. It's written by Mindy Kaling, and you know I like Mindy Kaling.
She's funny.
She wrote a lot of the best episodes of The Office. So you know, yeah. So you know, would be interesting. Who knows though? I know some of the recent Adult Swim stuff, like outside of Smiling Friends, I haven't heard too much good things about the recent Adult Swim series. There's whatchamacallit, Bird Girl. Not heard good things about Bird Girl. As for shows that are ending, instead of shows that are starting, Riverdale has finally been canceled. The series is going to come to an end in season 7. The show has spiraled very out of control. What season are you on, Lugia?
I've been starting from the beginning, and I'm up to season 3. The show gets fucking batshit insane.
Oh, you don't even know it. So, the current season of Riverdale. Here's the thing, like, these are spoilers, but I also do not think you're gonna believe me. So,
Listen, I'm at a point in the show where there's a D&D and farm cult, so like
All right.
anything can go by this point.
all right, here, let me just read you the plot synopsis of I guess season 6, episode 6 on Wikipedia. Archie and Betty dealing with the mysterious side effects following the explosion at the Andrews house. Betty sees a malicious aura from a male orderly at a hospital. She later detains a suspected for murder of a nurse. Basically, Archie and Betty get superpowers. There's also some alternate universe shit that's happening with another Riverdale, which like I think Jughead like created or something. This is the most insane series I've ever heard of in my life. This shit doesn't even sound believable. I guess at one
All
point they
right,
crossed
I
over
got a fun
Sabrina the
fact for
Teenage
you. When
Witch.
you try to look up who the Riverdale writers are, the third search result is Riverdale writers on crack.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of bad things about the head writer of Riverdale. I think his name is Roberto Aguirre. Okay, whatever he is, but he's best known for working on Glee, and I've heard people say that he's not as good as Glee. So, and Glee already doesn't have a stellar reputation. So, anyway, nice ass ending. I think it is currently on season 6. That's what's currently airing. So we're gonna have one more season, I guess, to wrap shit up, and then it'll be over. So I guess 2023, 2024 is when Riverdale's gonna end. So interesting phenomenon. Let's see. That show started when we were in what? High school?
High school.
Middle of high school?
When
What
was
year
it? 2017?
Mhm.
2017. So yeah, we were like 16 years old and now we're graduating. We're gonna graduate by the time it's over, most likely. So yeah.
Mm.
Anyway, another TV news. How many of you grew up on Power Rangers?
Not me.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I
Okay,
caught
so
it briefly here and there, but I could not tell you anything.
I watched a little bit of it. I remember like Mystic Force and like this jungle one, Jungle Fury, whatever. But the Red Power Ranger actor has been arrested and charged with COVID fraud after an FBI raid.
That is a sentence you just said.
Yes, it is. I don't know. I just thought that story is really, really funny, and I just want to like that. That's just insane. That's like when I found out that Chum Lee was like Walter White, where he was running like a drug. He was dealing drugs outside of his candy shop, and Chum Lee using a candy shop as a drug front is incredibly funny too. I feel like with a lot of Power Rangers, it's either like the actors just kind of stay working on the show, they become successful somewhere else. If you're an anime fan, Johnny Young Bosch, he used to be a Power Ranger. Or if you're a voice acting fan,
Now he's Virgil.
he's Virgil. He's Ichigo Kurosawa. He's Lelouch. I think he played Light in Death Note too. Johnny Young Bosch is he's great. Probably the most successful Power Ranger story. Others just kind of return for the anniversary specials, and some completely disappear. And I guess now you can add COVID fraud to the list. I don't even know what COVID fraud is, but that's something. So you guys see that multiverses game?
A little bit
I'm
of it.
aware of it.
I'm actually looking forward to it because the game actually looks really, really high quality. Like, it doesn't look like the Nickelodeon All Stars game where it feels like kind of cheap and like a typical licensed game. This one actually looks like it has like a lot of effort into it, especially since it's not just limited to Cartoon Network stuff. So currently, the characters they have announced is Finn and Jake from Adventure Time, Batman, Harley Quinn, Superman, and Wonder Woman, Arya Stark from Game of Thrones, the Iron Giant. And what's really cute is for all the Iron Giant's promos, they have him with the big S on his chest, and they always show him next to Superman, and he's like always with like this very happy expression that he gets to see you
Oh,
know
that's
his
adorable.
hero. You got Bugs and Taz, which is cool. What I really like is Tom and Jerry are a duo fighter, similar to like
Huh.
Ice Climbers. But do you know what the gag is?
What's the
They
gag?
beat each other up.
Yeah, Tom is trying to kill Jerry, and he just hits all the other people
Oh my
accidentally
god,
as like
that's
collateral
Yeah.
great.
damage.
That is great. Is their
Yeah.
final smash like a dust cloud of smoke and fighting?
I don't think they've revealed any final smashes yet.
I
So
That's
Do we
gotta be
even
their
know if there's a
that's
Final Smash equivalent?
yeah,
if
I don't
they're
know.
if they're that's gotta be Tom and Jerry's.
Or a Super at the very
Uh,
least.
Yeah, they got Shaggy and Velma. What I found cute is Velma. There's this one move where she loses her glasses, and the whole screen goes a bit blurry because
Oh my god, that's
yeah. See, like,
they're
see what I mean?
putting
Like
so much effort into
they're putting a
this.
lot of detail into this.
That's great. That's great.
Bugs Bunny and Taz is there. Steven Universe from and Garnet from Steven Universe is there, and they've been having original characters like Rain Dog. I don't know who that like I said, that's an original character. What I found interesting though is that Multiverses they put up this image of a roster, and what people notice is that in the background it looked like Gustavo Fring, the villain in Breaking Bad, was one of the characters. I'm like, wait a second,
Well, does Warner Brothers own Breaking Bad?
that's the weird thing. I don't think they do.
Oh, then that is
Um,
weird.
yeah, but I don't know. That new Chippendale movie had a bunch of crossovers they didn't own, but we'll talk about that later. I think they data mined some characters.
I've said this before and I'll say it again. Where is the Disney fighting game? Come on, we need the Holy
We've
Trinity.
had Disney racing games.
That doesn't
Just
count.
gonna-
It needs to be a fighter.
Yeah, and let's be real. If we ever get a Disney fighting game, it's probably going to be a Kingdom Hearts spinoff, and it's going to have and the story mode is going to be incredibly tied into the lore.
By this point, it has to.
So it's like, oh my god, the Heartless put. It's going to be like what was the second Kingdom Hearts game? Chain of Memories,
Yes.
where it's like put inside this like simulation or whatever. It's going to be like that again, except the simulation has them like duel with everyone, or it's like whatchamacallit,
Recoded.
no, it's like the tournament section and all the Hercules tournament section and all
Oh,
the
okay, yeah.
Yeah, here's the thing. All the Kingdom Hearts game, there's this like Coliseum thing or this tournament. So you actually do fight characters. I don't think they've ever put Disney characters in those though. Usually the bosses are all Final Fantasy characters, but yeah.
No, I'm pretty sure there was the Hydra in the first game
Yeah.
from
Anyway, I think
Hercules.
They data mined the Multiverses game, and here are the list of leaked fighters. So they got Gandalf, Rick and Morty, LeBron James in his Space Jam 2 design, Raven, Marvin the Martian, Craig from Craig of the Creek, obviously Scooby-Doo, the Joker, Gizmo, Black Adam, Poison Ivy with her I guess new Batman Adventures TAS design, Static Shock, Beetlejuice in his old cartoon design, the Wicked Witch, the Hound, Daenerys Targaryen, 11 from Stranger Things, Legolas, Emmett from the Lego Movie, Godzilla, a new character called Ninja, and a new character called Brute. Those are the originals, I guess.
A stacked cast.
Yeah, and 11 is not owned by Warner Brothers either, so I guess yeah, it really isn't whatchamacallit limited to Warner Brothers characters.
This is Warner Brothers and beyond.
Anyway, time for the inevitable mention of Sonic the Hedgehog. So
Yes, we all saw Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
About fucking time.
We all saw it
Yes.
together. So I guess what are your overall thoughts? Why don't you
Lugia,
talk,
you s-
Lugia?
Yes, you start.
I think after giving it some time since we saw it, I think I like it more than the first film. It has a lot more elements that remind me that I'm watching a Sonic the Hedgehog movie and not
Oh yeah, I
what's
liked it
basically
way
a buddy
more than
cop
the
movie.
Yeah, I liked it way more than the first. This one actually felt like an adventure movie instead of a road trip.
A Sonic
one-
adventure,
This
if
one
you will.
does feel more like a Sonic movie. It feels like Sonic Adventure mixed with Sonic 3.
Yeah, and it had like one or two dashes of Sonic Unleashed in there. I still got my issues with it. It still bothers me that movie Sonic does not have the personality of a game Sonic. I'm hoping like this is like I don't know the MCU Spider-Man movies where like he eventually ends up like game Sonic. You know, hopefully by like the end of Sonic 3 or something. But all the dynamics are pretty good. Knuckles and Tails, they were characterized pretty well. Some solid action. Had some like weird Dragon Ball Z vibes to it
I mean, makes sense
with some of
since
the action.
Sonic was partially inspired by Dragon Ball Z.
Oh yeah, no, Sonic has a ton of Dragon Ball Z references, but like this one had like references outside of like the Sonic one. So I'm like, oh yeah, I guess if you're gonna draw from an inspiration source outside of Sonic, it's good to draw inspiration from Dragon Ball Z because like it's basically the same series.
So
Yeah.
my major gripe with this movie is that at times the dialogue and the references kind of annoyed me.
In
Yeah,
what
no,
way?
Like even the first film, there were some points where I'm like, okay, this, eh. But I don't know. It just felt like sometimes some of the references felt a little too shoehorned in.
You have any
yeah.
examples?
I don't know, like the scene where uh, Sonic is home alone and the power goes out, like right before he sees Robotnik and Knuckles. At one point, when the power first goes out, the TV is static, and he's like, "Do we have a poltergeist?" I'm like,
Oh yeah, geez. Anytime it
you
makes
could have
like
just
pop
you
culture
could have just
references,
walked
like
up. You could have just walked up to the TV and had like a visual reference. You didn't need to say it.
yeah,
There were some instances like that where I'm like, you didn't need to make a comment about it.
yeah. So I guess my main complaints with this movie is that I am 21 and this movie is very much made for a 7-year-old. So obviously there's just gonna be just some general disconnect there. This is a great movie for kids, but like obviously it's not like amazing to me as an adult.
But as a
Um,
Sonic fan, it's all right.
even as a Sonic fan, like I said, like the main reason I like Sonic is because of his character, and this isn't his character. But it's an all right fun adventure movie. Better
Yeah,
than the Uncharted movie. It's a better Uncharted movie than the actual Uncharted movie, which is kind of funny.
I don't know. Like the action was cool. I really like the
Yeah,
snowboarding down the mountain scene,
yeah.
and
I
also
find it weird that like
the temple fight.
yeah, I find it weird that my favorite character in this movie series is honestly Tom. Like Tom's my favorite character, and like
I
he's
like
the
Tom
human
too,
guy.
though I think a good portion of that comes from the fact that I like James Marsden. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they basically make him because like this is very much like a superhero movie almost like alongside a classic globe-trotting adventure film. And Tom is like his uncle Ben.
yeah.
Minus the murder. But yeah,
This movie, yeah, like I said before, this movie does feel more like a Sonic movie. Like Tom and his wife are very much pushed aside to make way for Sonic and Tails
yeah,
doing their Sonic and Tails thing.
yeah. Jim Carrey's funny when he's not doing pop culture references. Agent Stone was pretty good for the brief time he was there.
I told you guys this after we left the movie. I'm gonna say it again. Agent Stone is a gay icon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love
Um,
that guy.
Let's not forget Olive Garden
I
guy.
Oh yes.
I probably
Actually,
say like
that's my other complaint with the movie. There were not nearly enough Olive Garden references.
I mean they made like 3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but compared to the first one, where they were like, actually, I don't know. I haven't seen the first movie since I first saw
The
it.
first movie they did it like twice.
Yeah, they didn't
It,
really
it
reference
was,
it towards the end.
I don't know. I don't know why it sticks out in my head a lot more. I guess
I
because
mean,
it was so out of nowhere.
because it happened like at the climax, like it happened like
You
at the
saved you
end of the
saved
movie.
you saved the world. Here's a $25 Olive Garden gift card.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess my favorite part of the movie was probably Knuckles. Like Knuckles' whole arc and his characterization was all good. I actually like him more than some of the recent games where they just make him stupid. Where this one's more of like a fish out of water thing. He's like Thor. If you ever seen the first Thor movie,
Yeah, yeah. Actually,
except like
he
a
even
bit more
kind of
noble.
talks like Thor.
Yeah, I mean, Idris Elba's also in the Thor movies, and I straight up just think he just did his Heimdall. He just did his Heimdall voice, so like, yeah.
Two other things I wanted to say. One is my only other comment about the movie that I'm disappointed at is I wish there was more references musically. Like
Yeah,
there's the
Yeah.
Green Hill theme as a ringtone at one point. That's expected, and
that's the only Sonic thing they do,
they
really.
briefly reference the drowning music.
Yeah, yeah.
Briefly.
And at one point I swear I heard the Sonic Lost Worlds theme, but like it was like buried into the score, so it was like a bit hard to tell. But yeah,
I don't know, but
Part
like,
of me really wishes that they would use the Sonic Adventure track for the snowboarding section. That would have fit perfectly.
yeah, that's the thing with these Sonic movies. Like, I
here's the
wish
thing.
there was more. I wish there was more musical references.
Thing is, I wish they just had rock music in general. They had like one rock song in the movie. I'm trying to remember which one it was. It was like a punk song, I think.
But no, here's Uptown
Uh,
Funk.
Oh yeah.
What? It wasn't just Uptown Funk. There was a rock song in there, like just a classical though.
Oh yeah. I know the song you're talking. I know the scene you're talking about. I don't remember the song though.
Yeah. But anyway, Sonic is just like I feel like very associated with like very fast-paced music. So either like old school funk, like 80s funk, or rock and roll. And like I don't know, I feel like especially since the next movie is clearly going to try to adapt at least in part Sonic Adventure 2, I really hope they start to inject some rock music into the soundtrack.
But Sonic 2 overall, not a bad time. If you like the first movie, or if you wish that the first movie was more like a Sonic movie, like I said, this is more like a Sonic movie than what the first film was. So you'll probably like this one more.
At the end, they discover the real superpower of teamwork.
I hope
Oh, yeah.
Sonic 3 one makes Sonic a teenager, has rock music. I hope we see an old man and his granddaughter get shot because that would be insane to see on the big screen.
You're awful.
I'm not awful. I just want stakes. But also, like that would genuinely like I don't know why, but like seeing that on the big screen, I think that it would be like more shocking, even though like the video game skew like are just as young, so like children saw that too. Like we saw that shit when we were like 10 years old.
Anyway,
Speaking of Sonic, because the new Chip and Dale movie came out, a certain blue asshole has made his way in the movie, and I'm not talking about Sonic the Hedgehog, I'm talking about Ugly Sonic, the prototype Sonic model from the first movie. He's back!
So
I'm the only one who's actually seen the Chip and Dale movie, right?
Yes.
I've seen like clips of it. But
Okay. What I'm gonna say might sound crazy, but guys,
Yeah, I know.
they redeemed Ugly Sonic.
Yep, I've seen a
They
lot
were-
of tweets saying
they-
like, "Yo, Ugly Sonic is actually
saw the-
dope."
Guys,
I saw
they,
the
re-
entire
they,
Ugly
re-
Sonic clip. Yeah, it was moderately funny.
they redeemed the fucker. I don't believe it.
Yeah, they got Tim Robinson to voice him.
And it's all because they don't call him Sonic.
He was legit. No, he was legitimately funny.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be like this washed up actor who was fired, and he's like, I'm gonna make it big. Just you wait and see. I
mean, the
already
whole
got
movie's
TV show deals.
Isn't the whole movie about washed up actors?
Yeah, well, former actors. But no, like I was legitimately surprised. I'm like, this is actually really funny.
Yeah.
But the movie as a whole, I honestly liked it more than I thought I would.
Yeah,
I saw the trailer and I'm like, I don't know, but I heard it was getting some good reviews. People seem to like it. I'm like, yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad. It's not great, but it's enjoyable.
I've seen some clips and I was like, yeah, this seems like moderately funny. It's from like the Lonely Island people, so I'm like, yeah, it's probably okay. A lot of the clips I'm seeing though are so reference heavy that I'm like, man, in like 10 years, this is like the Ugly Sonic thing. Like in 10 years, are kids even gonna remember Ugly Sonic? Like that's like such a there is no traces of Ugly Sonic like left. People are just gonna have the Sonic movies and they're like, I don't get it. What happened? Who's Ugly Sonic? So I don't know. I feel like this movie isn't gonna like hold up to time, but like I'm sure it's probably moderately enjoyable now.
Yeah. It is for like for a movie in 2022. I got a kick out of it.
Yeah.
Some very surprising cameos though. Like the Ugly Sonic cameo wasn't surprising to me because it's all over the internet and I was aware of it before I saw it. So
What did
whatever.
you expect Randy from South Park?
I was not. I actually I just yelled, "What? He's here?" Because I'm not expecting Randy Marsh in a Disney product.
Yeah.
But no, that's not even the only one. At one point, there's a background character from Big Mouth shows up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait,
well,
what the fuck?
Yeah,
the
it's
critter,
like 2 seconds long, but I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
That's a Big Mouth character.
Of all things,
that one see, that one
fucking
doesn't
Big Mouth.
that one doesn't surprise me though that much because the fucking creator of Big Mouth plays one of the main characters. I think he plays either Chip or Dale. He plays one of them. It's John Mulaney and Andy Samberg, and John Mulaney is the co-creator of Big Mouth. So
All right.
yeah,
There's a few other ones. They're not. These are just like small background things. Like you don't see the character, but like you see names. Like at one point, they're on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and you could see a star that has Squidward written on it.
yeah. I saw
That was funny. Also,
I saw the
Butthead appears on a bench advertising he's campaigning for senator.
yeah I saw whatchamacallit Spider-Verse reference. They had some graffiti that was in Spider-Verse. That was cool.
Also, this is one of the earliest cameos. Do you guys know the music video for Opposites Attract?
No.
Yeah,
That like 80s,
Yeah,
90s
I know.
song. The cat from that music video briefly appears as a DJ, and I'm like, oh, that's cool.
that is such a deep cut, but okay.
I know
Um,
it's well, I mean, that is a
what-
scene that scene in particular was set in like the 90s, so it made sense.
Okay. Are there any parts of the movies you like that aren't related to references?
Yes, this is kind of reference-ish, but I do like how ultimately the villain's main the whole thing with the
Oh yeah,
villain
the
is that
villain
he
was Peter Pan.
he kidnaps cartoon characters and makes bootleg clones of them to ship overseas. I thought that
Yeah.
was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Is that the
Um,
origin of Ugly Sonic?
I forgot to
No,
mention,
it's not.
there was a bit of controversy concerning the villain.
Yes, because of the actor who played Peter Pan.
Yeah, so basically the villain, his whole origin story is basically a real life story of what happened to the actor who played Peter Pan. And people are like, that's kind of fucked up, Disney. Like,
And I'm
it's
not gonna
kinda
lie, Peter Pan being the villain, I wasn't really crazy about that because I mean, Peter Pan was one of my favorite Disney movies as a kid, but it's not even
yeah, I
that.
love that book. Like,
It's
I love
not
that
even
movie.
that. It's I'd understand. It just didn't really make much sense to me. I mean, it kind of did, but at the same time, I'm watching this and I'm just thinking, I think it would have made more sense if they gone with, I don't know, who's like the Disney equivalent of Scrappy Doo.
Pluto? I don't know.
No, people like
Ooh, that'd
Pluto.
be, yeah, I'd be like, that
No,
doesn't
people.
make sense.
Who do people
Pluto.
fucking
Mortimer.
despise?
Mortimer, that's Mickey's rival. Or Peg Leg Pete.
I
No,
guess
Peg Leg Pete's too fun.
No,
Mortimer.
not Pete.
Mortimer's
I don't know.
like-
I don't know. I think it would have made more sense if you went with like the most hated Disney character, like not Peter
mean,
Pan. Don't do Peter
what-
Pan dirty.
I think Frollo would be a little bit too heavy for this, but yeah. I'm pretty sure Frollo is the most hated Disney villain. I'd say Mortimer Mouse because that's or fuck it, just make it like Epic Mickey and just have it Oswald again.
At least the voice acting was
You know,
great.
Since you mentioned the bootleg, I figured like that the villain was gonna be a bootleg of Peter Pan, and then like there'd be a plot twist reveal.
That's what I was expecting too, but
And then like
no, they don't do that.
the plot.
This is
twist
supposed to
gonna
be the
that-
legit Peter. This is supposed to be legitimately Disney's Peter Pan.
Yeah, I thought like the plot twist is that like it could have like a plot twist where like, oh, it turns out it was the original Peter Pan, but like they still present as like the bootleg. I don't know.
I don't know, but I did
Oh,
like
well.
the villain's plan. I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
But other than the references in the villain's plan, actually no, other than Peter Pan being the villain, which I didn't quite get, the only other thing I want to comment on that I didn't understand was the animation.
Oh yeah,
And you probably know where I'm going with how the 2D characters are actually 3D.
it looks so ugly. Like I don't get it.
Okay, here's the thing.
I know at one point in the movie they go into the uncanny valley. I'm like, my god, the main characters are in the uncanny valley. What are you talking about?
Okay.
No, they're right at home.
I didn't. Okay. All the rescue rangers, with the exception of Dale, who's just regular CG, for some reason the rescue rangers are 3D cell shaded, and I don't understand why they didn't just go traditional 2D. I mean, granted, the other quote unquote 2D characters are also animated in a 3D way, but the thing is that they're animated the way they're animated, they're not cell shaded, so they look more 2D.
Yeah.
I don't understand why they couldn't have done that with the Rescue Rangers.
See, here's the weird thing with
Because I mean, it's
This
Disney.
movie-
They pioneered 2D animation. Come on.
yeah. Well, here's the thing. Disney doesn't have a 2D animation department anymore. But here's the thing. Whoever they hire to do the 2D animation in Mary Poppins Returns, they should have just hired them again.
Well, that was also 3D. That was made to look 2D, but it looked more 2D than the 2D here.
That actually looked 2D to me. Damn, that was 3D.
That was 3D animated, actually.
Huh. All right. Well, still get those people. The one I find weird, this Space Jam 2, all these movies, none of them look as good as Looney Tunes Back in Action. Like the 2D animation, Looney Tunes Back in Action, and Space Jam and Who Framed Roger Rabbit, all looks better than these modern like $100 million budget movies. I'm like, what happened? Like
And also, one other thing.
Space Jam 2's 2D animation was fine, but it looks significantly worse than the three movies I just mentioned.
The only other thing I want to mention is that at one point, they meet with a Muppet, and I don't know if it's just me, but I swear the Muppet was CG animated.
Well, which Muppet?
I don't think he was supposed to.
Was he an original character?
I think he was an original character, but I'm not 100. I'm like 90% sure he was an original character.
But Disney
But
owns
for
the
some
Muppet.
reason, to me, he looked CG'd. But I don't know if he was. But I also looked in the credits. I couldn't see any credited puppeteers. So that's if he is CGI'd. Like, why? You have Jim Henson Studios. You have like the best puppeteers in the world.
I'm like, yeah, Disney owns Muppet Studios.
I don't know.
And the Muppets have like cameoed on many things before. They've even been on like talk shows and stuff. It's really not that hard.
And only other thing I want to mention is that at one point Chip says hell, and I was not expecting Chip to say hell.
It's a tier 1 curse word. Damn, Disney, you're stepping up.
I don't know, but you know, it's again not a great movie, but it's enjoyable enough.
Oh, the Bjornson, the cheesemonger character?
Yeah, him. Is he an actual Muppet, or is?
No, it looks like that was meant to be like a parody of Swedish Chef, though.
Okay, so we just briefly discussed Chip and Dale, which is in some ways similar to Who Framed Roger Rabbit, one of my dad's all-time favorite movies. So now let's talk about one of my dad's other all-time favorite movies, Dazed and Confused. See, there's the tie. That's how I tied them together. You see?
Yeah.
That was my plan all along. That's why I wanted Chip and Dale last. Anyway, this doesn't matter to the audience at home. Let's talk for a sec about Richard Linklater. That name sound familiar to you guys by any means?
No.
I've seen many of his movies. I've seen 4 of his movies prior to this.
Lugia, you don't know Richard Linklater?
Maybe I saw one of his movies. Can you run down the list of his reputation?
His best-known movies are the Before trilogy, consisting of Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, and Before Midnight.
I've seen
And he
all of them.
also directed Walking Life, School of Rock, A Scanner Darkly, Boyhood, and the recently released Apollo 10.5.
Never seen any of those. Closest thing was the School of Rock musical, which I'm pretty sure he had no input in.
I think he did. I mean, he created the script, so you have to have some input.
A little bit then.
But
he wasn't directly involved.
alright, well, this was kind of where he got his start, at least his mainstream start. And before we actually get into the movie, let me preface this. I looked into the production history of this movie.
Give us the most important points.
Yeah, I'm going to give you the most important stuff. But just so you know, there is a book called All Right, All Right, All Right, An Oral History of the Making of Dazed and Confused, which goes more in detail. And there's also a documentary called Making Confused, where the cast and crew share their experience of the film.
Yeah,
But
I know this was like what Matthew McConaughey's like breakout role.
I'll explain. So basically, here's a Cliff Notes version of how Dazed and Confused came to be. Back in 1990, Richard Linklater was just an up-and-comer, and he only had 2 films on his filmography. One was a Super 8 film called It's Impossible to Learn to Plow by Reading Books. That's actually what it's called. Can you guess the plot?
A guy reads a bunch of books to try to learn how to plow, and then he realizes
I don't know.
he can't.
I don't know. I've actually never seen it, but anyway. And the other film he had under his belt was an indie film called Slacker. And Slacker premiered at the Sundance Film Festival, where it received critical acclaim, making everyone realize that, you know what? This Linklater guy is someone to keep an eye on.
Yeah. That movie also became very influential in that sort of 90s indie boom that most people remember for Tarantino, but no, Linklater's pretty influential. He's the reason Kevin Smith made Clerks.
Anyway, and someone who had their eye on Linklater because of Slacker was a producer from Universal named Jim Jacks. And so he approached Linklater offering if he wanted to make a film for the studio. And Linklater had an idea for a film that, according to him, was best described as an American Graffiti, but for the 1970s. So Jax flew Linklater to Hollywood, and he pitched the idea to Universal, and they're like, yeah, okay, we'll do it. And Richard Linklater got to work writing the script. 5 months later, he handed the script, production officially begun. And although this was Linklater's first studio film, he insisted on filming it in Austin, Texas, and not LA, because that's his familiar turf. And when it came to casting, according to Linklater, teen films weren't really being made anymore when the 90s rolled around, so they decided to search around Austin for any young up-and-comers looking to be in a movie. So they handed out flyers all over town to get attention. And it's pretty well known that when it comes to Matthew McConaughey, he was not originally in the film. He did not audition. The whole reason he was in the film was just because he was in the right place at the right time. He was at a bar one night, and he met the film's casting director, they hit it off, and he was offered a part in the film. It was originally just like a one-scene part, it was very small, but everybody in the crew loved McConaughey so much they expanded the role. And that's kind of how we know McConaughey today.
Yeah, it was kind of funny when I was watching the movie. I was like 40 minutes in, I was like, man, when the fuck does McConaughey show up?
Okay, so yeah, that's the big story everybody knows about the making of Dazed and Confused, how Matthew McConaughey got in. But you know what's even crazier?
What?
Some of the other actors that auditioned to be in it. You know who auditioned to be in Dazed and Confused?
Who?
I'll just name you a few people. Vince Vaughn, Reese Witherspoon, Mark Ruffalo, Claire Danes, Will Wheaton, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Elizabeth Berkley, and Jared Leto.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah, these are not names to scoff at. These are huge names in today's day and age.
Yeah, and there was a lot of huge names that actually did make it in the movie.
I know. So, like, Dazed and Confused is known for its stacked cast, but imagine if all these people were also in the movie. That would be insane.
Yeah, because
and some of these people came very close to being in the movie. Vince Vaughn was almost cast in Ben Affleck's role, and actually, Renee Zellweger was also cast in Parker Posey's role.
Renee Zellweger was in the movie.
She was in the movie as an uncredited extra.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then you got Joey Lawrence Adams, who earlier I mentioned how influential Richard Linklater was on Kevin Smith, and she actually went on to star in several Kevin Smith movies. So that was a fun little tie-in, I guess.
All right, so that's that about casting. But here's where things start to get a bit spicy. Because throughout production, Linklater and Universal were constantly at odds. See, when executives first read the script for Dazed and Confused, they were unsure if they wanted to make it. But after Jim Jacks threatened to take the script to Paramount, Universal said, okay, we'll make it. We'll just get them started. Originally, Universal wanted the film to be PG-13 because they felt it would be more profitable that way. But Linklater said that was not possible with the movie he wanted to make. And Universal also wanted filming to constantly be on the move and move along. But Linklater wanted to take his time. Like, he didn't rehearse scenes until the day of shooting. He very much treated it like an independent film, which makes sense since that's his turf. But the studio was like, no, you need to move along like a studio does. So yeah, constantly at odds. And he almost got into a physical fight with the film's producer at one point due to the film's use of profanity.
Jesus.
Yeah. Not the best experience for Linklater. Also, at one point, okay. So, Dazed and Confused has a budget of $6.9 million. Guess how much of it went towards the soundtrack?
Probably a lot. That's some iconic songs in there.
Any guesses?
Was it the whole 6.9 million? No, that would be too much.
No.
Like, I don't know, 4 million?
1/6 of the budget.
So
15%.
A million?
15%.
So about $1 million?
I'm not good at math.
What was the budget
a
again?
little over $1 million.
6.9 million.
Okay, so yeah, over $1 million. Cool.
And Linklater was insistent that all the songs in the film were songs from bands that were around at the time of the movie that the movie set.
Yeah.
But
slow ride.
But of course, Universal wanted to fuck things over for him. So what did they do? Well, Universal wanted the band Jackal to perform a cover of the song "We're an American Band," to use over the film's ending credits, but Linklater was not happy with this idea because at the time Jackal was a new band and, not late 70s. So he said that would not fit, but Universal did not care. So Linklater took matters into his own hands and wrote a letter to the band explaining that their inclusion of their song wouldn't fit the movie and that this was purely Universal's decision. And when Jackal heard that, they're like, okay, we'll pull out for you. And this left Universal pissed.
Ooh.
But then when the film actually came to be released, Universal once again dove in to fuck things up because they had no idea how to market the movie. So they advertised it as a stoner comedy, which Linklater hated. And Universal also decided to release the film not under the Universal name, but under Gramercy Pictures, because they did not have much confidence in the film. And because of this, it also reduced the number of screenings. And because of that, Dazed and Confused was a box office bomb, only making $8 million. However, reviews were very positive, and it managed to gain a cult following when it made its way on home media. And in fact, in 2016, Linklater released Everybody Wants Some, which he called a spiritual successor to Dazed and Confused. And one last thing to round all this up. In 2004, Linklater was sued by 3 of his former classmates, claiming that some of the characters in the film were based on them, and that Linklater never asked permission to use their likeness. And the guys' names? Bobby Wooderson, Andy Slater, and Randy Pink Floyd. Sound familiar?
It's almost like
Those
the
were hilarious.
characters of the film.
I know. But according to Linklater, the lawsuit was dismissed. And that's all we know about it. But yeah. Hot damn.
All right, you guys
Talk
make sure to
about
never,
production.
you guys make sure to never sue me if I ever write a movie with your names.
As long as you ask permission first.
I
So,
expect royalties.
Okay, so that's the general gist. Again, I'm leaving out a lot of stuff, but that's the basics. If you want to know more, I recommend checking out videos on it.
Yeah.
And again,
You know
there's
what
that book
surprised me?
documentary.
You know what
What?
surprised me about this movie?
What?
They had all these classic 70s rock songs, but I don't think I actually heard Dazed and Confused play. I'm like, man, where's Zeppelin?
Okay, so let's actually get into this. So, Dazed and Confused. Okay, let me start by prefacing this. Dazed and Confused is not a plot-driven movie. In fact, there's not really a plot. The basic premise is that it's about a group of teenagers in Austin, Texas, on the last day of school in 1976. That's
Felt
it.
very vignette-y. It felt like
Yeah.
I don't know. You ever watch like a TV show? Like everything felt just kind of episodic, like the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies. So yeah, it felt very like plotless and vignette-y, almost like episodic, like just these different moments and whatever. Ollie remind me of like I don't know, Diary of a Wimpy Kid to bring up like a modern example. Obviously, much more casual, but yeah,
Okay,
great.
so let's
Yeah.
actually get into this. And Lugia, I want you to start.
So just my thoughts.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I could describe this movie, I would say it's the Earthbound of movies. There is no overarching plot. It's more about the moments and the characters and if you enjoy those moments or not. And I think for the most part, I enjoyed my time with this movie. It's not substantial given the lack of an overall narrative, but these characters, despite most of them being fucking assholes, let's be real, they were genuinely fun to hang around with as soon as you got used to the whole premise of like these seniors beating up these new freshmen. Like, wow, what the fuck?
I'll say.
I
You
thought
go.
this movie was all right. All right. All right. Okay. This is what I like to call like a vibe movie where like the focus isn't really like the story, it's just like the characters and them kind of vibing around. Licorice Pizza is like a modern example. That's also takes place in the 70s. People love making vibe movies of the 70s. Even like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was that. But yeah, Real good vibes out. But the thing is, like, there wasn't like any sense of reality I could latch onto because I'm like, this was nothing like high school was by the time we got there. So like to me, I was like, this is like to me, it was like I was watching like something completely foreign, and like I was able to get into it eventually, but I was like, I don't know, there was nothing really there for me to connect with. But it was like interesting to see a snapshot of the time.
Here, I'll say this. I can completely understand people of our generation not clicking with this movie because this movie is essentially a love letter to the mid to late 1970s. You know, that period after Watergate but before the Reagan
Yeah,
Revolution. That time in American history where it's kind of like a
the
bit of a
time in
a bit of a forgotten era.
yeah, it's basically the period that that '70s show took place in.
Yeah, so I can understand people our age not connecting with this movie because, you know, there's no real plot and it's about an era that most of us don't particularly care about.
Or even
But
existed in.
for me personally, I've always liked the 70s. I've always thought it was an
Yeah, no, I
interesting
liked it
era.
too. It's just
Yeah. So like, you know, and like the music in here is music that I like. This
yeah.
is like rock music.
Yeah, I think
This
the
is like my favorite
soundtrack
kind
is
of rock music.
probably this movie's strong suit, just because I really
Absolutely.
like 70s and 80s rock.
Dazed and Confused would not be Dazed and Confused without the soundtrack.
No, I absolutely love the
And this
70s.
soundtrack
So
friggin' slaps.
I do find it funny though how like the characters in the movie, they're like, man, the '60s were really bitching, but the '70s suck. It was like, man, maybe the '80s is gonna be bitching. I was like, yeah, I
Yes,
mean, you're right, but
the
like,
every other decade theory.
yeah. And I just find funny is just like theory doesn't really hold water because people just kind of look fondly on all the past decades is just
Yeah.
whatever the current one you're in. People are like, oh, this kind of sucks.
But yeah, no,
Um,
I
I
mean,
really like
let's be real,
this
this
movie.
current decade does suck.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
I'll be real. I do really like this movie. But part of it could be bias because you know it's a favorite amongst my family. But no, even with that, I don't mind the lack of a story. I don't think the lack of a plot is
that's not a
necessarily a
flaw. No, it's just a
no.
thing I
It's
pointed out. No, it's absolutely not
yeah
an
no.
issue.
There is okay. The closest thing to an actual plot is that well, the movie is building up to a party, but also one of the characters is contemplating whether or not he wants to go the whole summer without drugs or alcohol for the
Yeah.
sake of the football team. That's the closest thing to like a story going on here.
Have you ever seen that TV show Freaks and Geeks?
Yeah.
No.
It kind of reminded me of this a bit. I think that also took place in the '70s, right? I feel like that show is inspired by this, like to some degree.
No, but yeah, this movie is just like comprised of moments, and I like
Yeah.
that. Again,
Um,
this is a very laid back movie.
One thing that I like about it is that so like they do show that like oh Chada's like pretty fun, but they also like to focus on like how frustrated and bored a lot of the teenagers are, and like how like it really feels like that like all the good stuff in life is like it's yet to come. Like
Hmm.
and I kind of like that because I feel like a lot of high school movies they tend to like I don't know romanticize it a little. There's a little bit of that there, but there's also hopeful for you know the future. I'm like I
Yeah.
like that part. That was
For me,
good sort of
for
themes.
me, it's the little moments in this movie that really stand out. Like I love the scene where Carl and Mitch. No, it's just Carl is talking with his friends, and at one point he just throws an empty beer bottle in the air, and they all run like, "Oh my god, duck!"
Yeah.
Because you know, glass
Obviously
shatters.
every scene McConaughey is in is great.
Yes, I also love when Mitch is at the
Yeah.
convenience store and there's a woman in front of him, and the clerk is saying, "All right, it's important for pregnant mothers to get a lot of protein and calcium. Here's your wine. See you tomorrow."
Yeah. I still think it's really, really fucking weird that Ajit Pai referenced this movie. The fucking chairman of the FCC. Um, so remember when the net neutrality thing was going on?
Yeah.
Yes,
So
those were dark
he
times.
once did a video where like he was like responding to hate comments, and at one point someone's like, this person's gonna be in jail. He's like, well, to quote Dazed and Confused, uh, when I come out of jail, I'll be older, but they'll be the same age. I'm like, God damn, dude, you are like 40. Do not talk about high schoolers that way. I'm like, yeah.
Well,
How old is McConaughey in this movie?
uh, he's like he graduated high school, so he said he's a few years out of high school, so like
Yeah.
mid-20s, I'd say.
I
Mid-20s,
was like,
late
man,
20s.
that weird line, McConaughey, weird line, but yeah.
Well, to be fair, the characters in the movie even acknowledge that he's being creepy. Like they say, you're gonna
I
end
mean,
up in
yeah,
jail
yeah,
one day.
yeah, no. It's good that they, acknowledge that that line is kind of
Yeah.
fucked up. Like, I find it insane. That's like a line I've heard referenced. I'm like, that is like not the line of this movie I would want to reference.
Also, another thing I love about this movie is you could tell like the camera quality is intentionally not that high. Like it very much looks like a movie that was filmed in the 70s.
Yeah.
I think that really does add to it. I really like that.
Yeah, I think they probably use like 16 millimeter,
Yeah.
older film stock.
It works with this type of movie, to get the feeling, to get the vibe. That's what this movie is. It's a vibe. Anything else that stood out to you guys?
The line where someone said they had a dream where they fucked a female Abraham Lincoln caught me off guard.
Yeah.
A lot of the hazing stuff is just like, man, these are some just weird ideas. So I'm imagining like that must have like actually happened to Richard Linklater though. I'm like, huh, that's bizarre. I thought it was really funny when like that one girl asked them to like, hey, can you go easy on my brother? It's like, well, not easy, but like make it like do as much to him as you would anyone else. And the second she leaves, they're like, we're gonna fucking kill that kid. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
we're gonna make him. He's gonna get the worst. Like I was like, okay, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, the characters are jerks, but like
It's like an Always Sunny kind of way. Where it's like,
yeah,
funny.
you enjoy being, like you said, Luca, you enjoy being with them. Like they're assholes, but you enjoy yourself.
Does that make me a terrible person?
No,
I enjoy like
most middle schoolers and high schools are bad people, so I'd like to say like,
Yeah.
nah, this fits.
It reminds me of something like Election, where like they're terrible people, but
It's very
you
fun.
enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, or like Malcolm in the Middle. Like Malcolm in the Middle, they aren't like terrible people, but they are like, I've been rewatching Malcolm in the Middle. Like, yeah, if it gave me similar vibes to this. It's just for the 2000s instead of the 70s.
So, question: is there anything about this movie you guys like didn't like?
Didn't like.
Like any like negative aspects? Just out of curiosity.
Nothing
besides the
really
fact that
stood
I
out
couldn't
to
really,
me
like-
in terms of negatives.
Yeah, I guess like the biggest negative is just like again, there wasn't much for me to really latch onto because there's nothing particularly relatable to it to me, and the characters kind of are asses, but like it's still oddly worked, like despite the fact that I couldn't latch on to anything personally.
This movie's
But
this movie's like a time capsule.
yeah,
Kind of, yeah.
And despite not being made in the 70s, it does capture the essence of the era.
This is gonna sound weird, but I think this movie is better if you watch it by yourself rather than with other people.
Really? Did you watch it with other people?
No, I watched it by myself. But I feel like it was meant to be watched by just one person in the audience and nothing more. Considering it's supposed to be more about getting a feel for the era, enjoying yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
yeah.
I get that.
I don't know, get fucking high to it. You do what you gotta do.
I know he didn't want it to be a stoner comedy, but like I don't know, this movie probably would be good if you got stoned.
I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah.
I've told you guys this is one of my dad's favorite movies. Do you want me to give an explanation?
Go ahead.
He grew up in the 70s?
Yeah, but well, let me elaborate. I asked him, why is this one of your favorites? And he said because he grew up in that era, because he was around the same age as Mitch in the movie. So this for him, this is what he's used to. This is what he grew up with. It's the music he likes, it's the style he likes. He knew people, a lot nicer people who were like this. Like he said, like there was no paddling or anything. Like it was a much nicer environment than what this movie depicts. But this is what he grew up with, so it's very nostalgic for him.
Kind of funny that this was compared to American Graffiti. Like he pitched this as American Graffiti because American Graffiti was made in the 70s, but it was like a throwback to the 50s or 62.
60s. It was a throwback to the. It was a throwback to the 60s.
I'm like, huh? Kind of similar time frame here because this came out in 1973, about 76. So that's about a 17-year gap. American Graffiti was a little bit over like an 11-year gap. So it's like, yeah, it kind of feels like 70s reflecting on like the decade prior, and this is the early
It's like
90s
it's like
reflecting on the
here.
70s.
It's like if you made a movie now reflecting on the late 2000s.
I guess the early 2000s actually, but yeah.
Well, Dazed and Confused released in the early 90s, and this movie is set in the mid to late 70s.
Yeah, but so this is the early. Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Just looking at how the time, you know what I
Yeah.
mean. So overall, unless we have anything else to say,
I don't know. 7 out of 10. Thought it was pretty good.
Yeah,
But
7 out
I'm
of
I'm
10.
I'm gonna I'm gonna have to rewatch it maybe and let this movie sit with me a bit more. But yeah, pretty good. Liked it.
yeah, I,
Definitely on the
I,
upper end of 7. It's pushing an 8. I might make it an 8 actually. I don't know.
yeah, as I said, I think this movie is great. Again, a little bit of bias considering my family, but no, even with that, like I love the vibe. I enjoy the characters. I enjoy the dialogue. The soundtrack, again, absolute banger. But again, I can understand how people our age wouldn't really click with this movie. But again, I think if you were from that era or if you like that era, I think you'll jump into this movie just fine.
I can see myself coming back to this every now and then just to get a feel for the kind of world that this movie's trying to depict. It's very
Again,
relaxing, but also crude.
Yeah, no, like I said,
Like
I have a soft,
it still
I have a
feels
soft
weird.
spot for
Like
the 70s.
it still feels weird saying like I'm comfortable with watching this movie about seniors beating up freshmen. Like, how do you explain that to somebody?
I don't know.
Like, no, not that
Yeah,
portion, not that portion, but like,
but again, this
just like the parts where they're partying, the parts where like everyone's having like a genuinely good time,
it's a
getting
movie
drunk,
about
getting wasted, those parts
it's a,
anyway.
it's a movie about the last day of school in 1976. That's the basic way to describe the movie.
Sure.
Yeah, no grand plot, no major developments, nothing extraordinary. It's just a day in the life.
Just be on the lookout for paddling.
Oh, that's a paddling.
All right.
Uh,
So if you like this movie, check out Licorice Pizza. Any of Linklater's other movies, they all got very similar vibes to it. The TV show Freaks and Geeks and American Graffiti.
Radical. So yeah, I'm glad we finally got to get into this one. So,
all right,
I
so
believe
Red.
Red, you're up next.
All right. So I was struggling trying to think of like what would be a good follow-up just based on what you guys did. So this one was like a laid back high school comedy. Before that was like what's Training Day? Like this crime drama, and before that we had a surrealist comedy. I was thinking about it, and it's like we haven't really done we haven't done a romance movie in a while, but we also haven't done like a Hong Kong movie, and I don't think ever. Have we done a Hong Kong movie before?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
All right. Well, this is one of my favorite movies. It's called In the Mood for Love by Wong Kar-wai. Yeah, and this is actually like one of my favorites. It's currently in my top 4 on Letterboxd. So this is came out in the year 2000, which is when I believe all of us were born, and
Yes, Al Gore's
Yep.
favorite year.
yeah, probably a personal favorite of mine. I like all of his movies, but I feel like this one's probably the most accessible because the other two
Yeah, from
movies
one
I've wanted.
personal favorite to another personal favorite. How about that?
Yeah, because he's got this movies Chunka Express and Fallen Angels, but those are movies you kind of have to watch together, and I didn't feel like doing a double feature to this week, so yeah. In the Mood for Love, yeah. Very unique movie. Feel like it's something you've never seen a movie presented like this before, so I think it will be an interesting experience.
This has been It's Always Sunny in Hollywood. Till next time, check you later.